You finish other people's sentences in your head before they're done speaking. You've reread the same paragraph 4 times, not because you don't understand it, but because some part of you wonders if you've missed a deeper layer. You find it easier to be alone with an idea than in a room full of people talking about nothing. And sometimes, in the middle of a perfectly ordinary day, your mind goes so far inward that the world outside feels like it's playing on mute. That's not distraction. That's not arrogance. That's not you being difficult. That's something else entirely, and we need to talk about it. Here's what most people get wrong about high intelligence. They think it looks like confidence, like ease, like someone standing at the front of the room with all the answers, moving through life without friction. But that's not what it looks like from the inside. From the inside, it often looks like exhaustion, isolation, a quiet, persistent feeling that you are slightly out of step with everything around you. Not better, not worse, just different, and not always in ways that feel like a gift. You are not broken. You are not too much, and your brain is not making a mistake. It is doing exactly what it was built to do, and that comes with a cost that almost nobody talks about. The first thing that happens when a mind processes information at unusually high speed is that it starts noticing things it wasn't asked to notice. You walk into a conversation and you're already 3 exchanges ahead. You sit in a meeting and you can see the flaw in the logic before the sentence is finished. You read between the lines so automatically that you sometimes forget other people aren't doing the same thing. Psychologists call part of this cognitive hypervigilance. The brain isn't just receiving information, it's running it through every possible interpretation simultaneously. This isn't a conscious choice. It happens before you decide to do it. And what it creates over time is a nervous system that is almost never fully at rest. Think about what that means for everyday life. A simple social interaction isn't simple. A throwaway comment carries weight. A silence isn't neutral, it's data. Your brain is working constantly in the background, processing, filing, questioning, connecting, like a machine that never fully powers down. And it is exhausting in a way that is genuinely hard to explain to people who don't experience it. There's something else. People with unusually high intelligence often struggle deeply with boredom, but not the ordinary kind. This is a boredom that sits in the chest like a dull ache, a hunger that routine tasks, repetitive conversations, and predictable environments cannot touch. And because the world, most of the time, operates at a pace and depth that doesn't reach them, they spend a lot of time feeling understimulated in ways that look, from the outside, like restlessness or impatience or aloofness. It isn't any of those things. It is a mind reaching for something it can't quite find. The reframe here matters. This isn't arrogance. It's a nervous system that requires more input to feel regulated, the same way some people need more sleep, or more movement, or more quiet. Certain minds need more depth, more complexity, more to work with. When they don't have it, they don't coast, they ache. But here's the part nobody tells you. High intelligence doesn't protect you from self-doubt. In fact, it often deepens it. There's a phenomenon researchers have observed where heightened analytical ability turns inward. The same processing power that lets you see patterns in the world gets applied to yourself relentlessly. You analyze your own words after you've said them. You reconstruct conversations the next morning. You hold yourself to a standard of logical consistency that no human being can actually meet. And when you fall short, and you always eventually fall short, that internal critic speaks fluently and often. This isn't a character flaw. This is the same intelligence that serves you so well in the world, turned without mercy toward yourself. The same precision, the same eye for error, the same refusal to accept an incomplete answer. A mind that notices everything will also notice everything it gets wrong. There is also the matter of connection, of loneliness, and this is where it gets complicated.
Most people with very high intelligence don't struggle to understand others. They often understand others with a clarity that is almost uncomfortable. They can see why someone is the way they are, track the pain underneath the behavior, anticipate the reaction before it happens. In some ways, they are deeply, even painfully empathic. What is harder is feeling understood in return. There's a particular loneliness that comes from always being the one who translates, who simplifies, who meets people where they are, because where you are is somewhere they can't easily reach. It creates relationships that are warm but asymmetrical, connections that nourish others more than they nourish you. And over time, you may start to withdraw, not out of superiority, but out of a kind of quiet grief. The grief of showing up again and again with your whole self and leaving with only part of you filled. Psychologically, this maps on to what we understand about mismatched attachment, about the longing for resonance, for the feeling of being truly met. It's a human need, and it doesn't disappear just because your mind moves faster than most. The behavior that comes from all of this, the withdrawal, the overanalysis, the perfectionism, the endless internal monologue, is not sabotage, it is protection. At some point, very early, the brain learned that the safest place to be was inside itself, that the outer world was often too slow, too shallow, or too unpredictable to feel safe in for long, and so it built inward. It made the inner life rich and complex and absorbing because that was where it had control, where it could be fully itself without apology or translation. Your inner world became your home, your anchor, the one place where things made complete sense. That is not a flaw in the architecture. That is an incredibly elegant adaptation. It kept you whole. It gave you something to return to when everything outside felt misaligned, like a room that is always the same temperature, no matter how cold it gets outside. The question is not why you built it. The question is what it cost you to live there too often. The experience of high intelligence changes across a lifetime. What felt like isolation at 15 feels like discernment at 35. The restlessness that made school unbearable becomes the drive that builds something no one thought possible. The hypersensitivity that made early relationships painful becomes the depth that makes later ones rare and real. The behavior doesn't disappear, the brain doesn't slow down, but the relationship to it shifts. Slowly, gradually, you stop trying to make it fit and start building a life around what it actually is, not what it should look like, not what would have been easier, what is true. None of this is something to fix. There is nothing here that needs correcting. You are not too much. You are not behind. You are not broken for finding ordinary life oddly lonely, or for thinking in layers, or for needing more than most people seem to need from a conversation, a project, a moment. You are a mind that processes depth, that lives at a frequency that not everyone can hear, and there is nothing wrong with that. There is something quietly extraordinary about it, even when it doesn't feel that way, even on the hard days, even in the silence. You were never the problem. You were always just waiting for the right frequency.